Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the Journey Back from Domestic Violence. I'm your girl, author Erica. I hope all is well on this Monday afternoon. I have a good friend here with me. Her name is Janelle. She's going to tell her story to everyone. Janelle, thanks for taking time out your busy day to share your story with other ladies that may be in a domestic violence situation or even coming out. So I just want to say thank you.
You're welcome.
So you could go ahead, you can start, take the floor, and tell your story.
Well, I met my ex-husband in 2007, actually, but it wasn't until 2013 that I moved down to from Canada to the U.S.
Okay.
And the abuse didn't start like right away. It wasn't like that. It was it was really slow. Like it happened like the first week it happened, and then it didn't happen again for like a few months. And so I didn't notice it
Okay.
really at all. Like it wasn't something that was like immediate, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
So by the time our two children were born in 2015, but by 2018, things were progressing a lot worse. And I was starting to see the signs, like the verbal abuse and the physical abuse. And I started making my safety plan
Okay.
to escape. So January 2019, I actually put $1,500 away in a separate bank account. And by by the time I left in April, I was on my way to Kansas to my sister's, and the money was gone. It was all
Wow.
gone. All my credit cards were maxed out. I couldn't get into any of my accounts, my email accounts, my school accounts, financial accounts, nothing. Couldn't get into anything, and I didn't understand what was going on because it just did not make any sense to me.
Hmm.
So, unfortunately, I did have to go back. So I was trying to figure out all the like by that time I realized my identity had been stolen, but
Oh,
I
okay.
I had no idea it was him. I didn't know. I didn't know it was him behind the hacking. I didn't know it was him that had stolen my bank account, all my financial records, and locked me out of everything. And my phone wasn't working properly, and I always had this weird feeling that I was being watched, but I couldn't
Okay.
couldn't put
Hang
my
on
finger
with
on
you.
it. Yeah. And he was being and at that time but the physical abuse had escalated to the point where it was every single day.
Wow.
So then I'd call 911, or I'd call a friend, and the phone would just ring and ring and ring. And I didn't and my phone never rang. I didn't understand what was going on. Like it did not make any sense to me at all. I come to find out later on that he was a hacker for the military, did computer programming. So he had put some some type of programs on my phone where all my text messages, all my calls, my Google searches, all my emails went directly to him. They didn't go anywhere else. And
Right.
then the incoming calls and emails went to him. So I didn't get anything. So that's why like every time I try to fix the identity theft, I, I would never receive any responses whatsoever.
Because it wasn't going nowhere.
Yeah, it was only going to him. So I went through from May till August being beaten every single day. I did manage to call 911 using his phone in June on June 15th of 2019. But I called them too soon. By the time they got there, yes, they arrested him, but they let him go a couple hours later. And I was somewhat feeling quite defeated because I thought that who's going to protect me? Who's going to help me if the police aren't going to do that? So then in August, August 2nd, actually, we are at a hotel because we lost our home through the hacking and whatnot. And I still had no idea it was him, no
Right.
clue whatsoever. And the hotel people actually called the police. And the same thing happened again. They let him go a couple hours later. So I didn't know what to do. I felt children at the time, 2 and 3. They were really small, and I had no money. I had no vehicle. I'm in a country by myself, and all the calls and text messages and emails for help didn't go anywhere.
Right.
And he was still very physically abusive, very violent. So by the time October 30th came around, I got a hold of my lawyer, and he actually gave me $500 to leave.
Wow.
So I told my abuser that I was leaving him, and we went to a storage unit. He seemed fine with it,
Okay.
but by the time we got to the storage unit and I walked inside, he came up behind me. He said, "Now no one will be able to hear you while I kill you." And he wrapped a cord around my neck. That's why my voice is kind of scratchy. Dragged me down to the floor and started beating me in the face. I got away, then he grabbed me again, put me in a chokehold, and I passed out. Continued to beat me, and then he finally let me go to sleep. So I fell asleep in the back with my son. Very next day, October 31st, it started happening all over again. He continued to beat me from we were going from Spartanburg to Greenville, and it takes maybe 45 minutes, and it took us over 3 hours because he kept pulling over and punching me in the face. So how I got away was we were at a stoplight, and it was pouring rain, and I wasn't wearing shoes. I reached over and unbuckled my son, and I grabbed him, opened the door, and I ran all the way to my office. He came there. My lawyer made him sit outside the door, and he gave me the 500, and he dropped us off at a hotel. When I was in the shower, he actually came into the room and took our daughter out of the room, called 911, and said she was wandering outside for over an hour. It was completely true. I have text messages proving that that's not true. Um, so there's police everywhere, and they all see my face. And he was arrested. DSS was called, and they decided to take my children for witnessing abuse.
Wow.
My children are still in DSS custody to this day. I'm still trying to get them back. Um, at that time, I still didn't know he was behind the hacking. I had no idea. So he went to jail for 4 months, but I had this really weird feeling that if I didn't go back to him, something worse was going to happen. I kind of had this feeling that he might be responsible, but I wasn't sure. He had, he always kept his phone like really close to him,
Right.
always. So when he got out of jail, I started digging. He told me once that if I knew what was good for me, I would stop. Continue whenever he was asleep or busy, I would start digging some more. He had this locked trunk. It's like there's a 3-digit combination, so I picked the lock,
Okay.
got it open, but the next day it didn't work. Turns out he had 3 different locks. So I picked all 3 of them, and inside I found about 30 phones, about 11 laptops, SD cards, external hard drives, a cryptocurrency drive, um, some flash drives, and a locked briefcase. I picked that lock too, and inside were handwritten passcode books. So I tried to copy as much as I could, like over time.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, in August, he kicked me in the back of the head, and he burnt my eyelashes off with a torch lighter.
Wow.
I had been hiding money inside a deodorant. Just lift up the deodorant part, and then there's a little hole, and
Yeah.
I roll money in there. Just I couldn't take it anymore after that. I was like, I copied as much as I could, photographed as much as I could, just left. Halfway to Kansas, he was blowing my phone up. And finally I answered, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to prove it was you that stole my identity, not knowing what I really had.
Right.
So what I actually found later, with the help of like internet watchdogs and computer people, it's actually child pornography.
Are you serious?
Serious. And I found from his passcode writings, I found that he was responsible for having my sister sold into trafficking. Huge money transfers to Albania. One of them was for $100,000, and he was uploading videos to the dark web for money, using cryptocurrency to launder that money. Incredibly smart, incredibly, he planned everything, absolutely everything. So in 2019, he was also telling people that I was an escort. And he was doing that because he had already sold me to human traffickers. And that was his way of preventing me from getting help once I was gone.
Right.
He had taken my ID, he took my passport, he took everything. So how I got away was I went to Canada. I thought that's the only place I could think of where he could not get to. So I was there for months, and I don't know how it happened, but I was trying to get help, trying to figure out those files, and
Mm-hmm.
somehow, and this is going to sound like just absolutely insane, but somehow he got in contact with that person who was looking at the files, and I was held in a house for 12 hours. And to get away, I actually had to sign my vehicle over for them to let me go. So my family came and got me. They had drugged me and raped me and videoed me. So my family came and got me. I was recovering for about a month. Finally, I decided, I need to come back and get my kids. So that was in December 2020. Went to a safe home for a while. That didn't work out so well. Not a big fan of safe homes.
Right.
And so I've been staying in a hotel ever since,
Wow.
trying to get my kids back.
So doing all this, and I just want to say I'm sorry because it can be a roller coaster, especially fighting for your kids. So when y'all first started, did it seem did he have any signs, or it was just a romantic kind of way that he started? Y'all relationship started.
It started, he seemed to be everything that I wanted. Like he was really understanding, he was really kind, he
Mm-hmm.
paid attention to me. And I had never been in an abusive relationship before, so I didn't know about love bombing. I had no
Okay.
idea. I had no idea that's what was happening. So in my mind, I thought I met the man of my dreams
Right.
and
Like,
man of my nightmares.
right. That was a whole nightmare. So during your
Yeah,
time, like I know you said it was times that he was hitting you and y'all was fighting. Have you went to the hospital for those licks, or you just didn't? He'll just patch you up himself.
himself.
So you never was able to go to the hospital to get treatment for him.
No, I should have had treatment on the October 31st meeting,
Hmm.
um, because well, the victim's advocate was there, the police were there, and yet I was clearly in need of medical treatment. They did not offer me anything at all.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
So during this time, with your planning, what was I know you say you started planning. What was that planning thing look like for you as you planned to escape the first time?
it was money,
Okay.
definitely money. Like I had somewhere to go. I was going to my sister's.
Hmm.
I was gonna take the kids to Canada with me.
Okay.
So I had all the money in place.
Right.
I had the vehicle in place. I had all our stuff ready. I had the paperwork ready. I had everything ready. It was just that he had been watching me for so long that I didn't know that he figured out that plan halfway through.
So that's how he had to hack your identity.
Yeah, he did. He
Wow.
stopped leaving.
That was a way to, kind of put things on hold. What was that one moment, during this time and you with him, what was going on in your head? What were you thinking about?
I just needed to get away. I knew I was in danger, and it was more like fear for my children, fear for myself. I couldn't go on anymore living the way we were living. I had no idea that once I came back, how bad it was going to be. Like no one can prepare you for being beaten every single day for no reason whatsoever. No one can prepare you for finding that someone that you thought you knew is, is making child pornography. Like, it was really hard for me to accept for like the longest time. I was like, no, it couldn't be him that stole my identity. Even though I had that suspicion in the back of my head,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think that he would do that. I don't maybe it's because I don't my mind doesn't work like that.
Right.
So
So
I think
during
there's
this
a
time,
lot of things. Sorry,
I,
go ahead.
I didn't hear you.
I said I during this all this time, like there's so many emotions that I went through. A lot. There's a lot of fear first.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a while, it was like, I'm tired of being afraid,
Right.
and I'm just gonna use that fear, and I'm gonna use that to like tell my story and fuel me forward, and trying to get my kids back, and try to put him away for what he's done.
Right. Because he have done a lot. It's a lot that the traffic and the identity theft and everything that he was doing. So it was a lot he needed to be put away for. So during the time when you what was the feeling like just losing your kids, period? How does that make you feel? Like, is it something that you did wrong or what
I
you
didn't
could
do
have
anything
did
wrong.
better?
I didn't do anything wrong. I At first I felt like just despair, complete utter despair, because I was trying to save them. And what DSS said was neglect for witnessing abuse. And so a lot of it is actually I get a lot of anger towards DSS because especially for as a victim of domestic violence, like they're supposed to be there to protect.
Right.
And now I feel like I'm being blamed for being a victim of domestic violence, and it's not my fault. I did try to get away. I did everything I could to try to get away, and now I feel like I'm fighting the system as well to try and get to keep them safe from him.
hmm So what was the plan like the last time you left? What incident that came about that you knew, okay, at this point I need to leave?
When he held that torch lighter to my eye,
And how did
knowing
that make you feel?
I knowing he could have blinded me,
Hmm.
and I was just but at that point I was like just I remember sitting in the car and I was crying. It was a weird cry though. Uh, it was just tears streaming down my face,
Hmm.
and I could hear him yelling from the door. And I just looked at him, and I thought, you know what? He doesn't love me at all.
Right.
Never did. Came to that realization, like, you know what? This isn't what love is supposed to be like at all. And I was just done, completely done. I started the car and I just kept drove off, and I kept driving and kept driving, and I knew I was never going to go back.
Right. So at what point did you tell your family, or did your family had an idea of what was going on?
My sister knew, but I don't have any parents. I have family up in Canada, but nobody knew really. Like my family up in Canada didn't I didn't tell anybody anything, and I was hacked. Like I was hacked so much. Like my Facebook was always hacked. and he had actually sent me pictures, um, and it was taken with my phone. I didn't take the pictures, he did.
Right.
So he had remote access to my camera and to my phone at all times. So he could watch me whenever he wanted, he could listen to me whenever he wanted, and know my locations whenever he wanted. And so it was, and I was like, at that time, I still didn't really know what was going on. I had no idea that someone could do that with a phone.
Right. That's crazy. He must have, that's high technology that you have to go through to even watch someone. But like you say, you've always felt like somebody was watching you.
Yeah, I just had this weird, just a weird feeling that someone was watching me. But it wasn't until like December 2020 when I figured out that he actually had remote access to my phone that whole time for years.
So that he been had this implant.
Yeah.
Wow. So as of now, what's can you talk about the legalities of you going what you have to go through for your children, or did he ever get caught? Did they do anything to him?
Well, I filed reports with the Department of Defense, with ICE, Homeland Security, um, Polaris, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, Canada Human Trafficking, and as far as I know, they're still investigating. I've spoken to Apple about my phones because I still have the phones, and even they can't explain it. They have no idea how he bypassed every single security feature on the iPhone.
Wow. He must be good or someone he know. It have to be someone he know that's good to bypass all the security because Apple have a tight security.
Yeah, well, he was a computer programmer for the military, so
Okay.
that's how he knows. And
Right.
I got in touch with members of that hacker group Anonymous on Twitter,
Hmm.
and they've seen the files and they've confirmed what everything that I'm saying that was found. That he has, yeah, definitely military grade experience in hacking.
Wow. So where are things now today as far as you building your self esteem back up, getting yourself back up, loving yourself more? Where are you right now
I'm
at this
I'm actually doing
moment?
pretty good. So once in December, once I realized like I figured out everything that was happening, that was I think that was really like my lowest point as I came back to the US, and it was really I felt I had nobody, absolutely nobody, and that's when I found out that DSS was trying to terminate my parental rights. And I'm in a safe home that doesn't really help at all. Like, yes, they put a roof over my head and fed me, but as for like any legal help, there was nothing there. And South Carolina law does not, even though I have a no contact order, it doesn't cover cyber stalking.
Okay.
So, and I was like, well, this piece of paper doesn't really do me any good because he doesn't have to be near me. He still watches me whatever he wants.
Right.
And so that's when I decided to put my story on Instagram to show people like, look, this is what's happening. Like this is what he's done to me. Is there anybody out there that can help? And from there, that's when I started really rebuilding myself and working on myself because I feel like there's things I wish I would have done if I would have known what abuse looks like right at the beginning, I could have done something a long time ago to
Hmm.
get out of that situation. And I think there's a lot of people out there that really don't know those signs, especially when someone who's a psychopath, because
Right.
they are way more covert and much more dangerous than any other abuser. Narcissists, I think, are on the same level, not quite the same level, but pretty close, same as sociopaths.
Mhm.
But the psychopathic abuse, it's incredibly damaging because it's like such over such a long period of time, and they do things to like I basically felt like I was blocked in a corner in a game of chess,
Right.
and he had done all these things planned well years before to try and break me. And I thought, what if anything, someone will see it and maybe it'll help somebody else.
Right.
So
Because
I
who
really,
knows? who's out there. You never know who's out there right now dealing with a psychopath, you know?
right, right. And so basically, like, once I started like sharing what I was going through, that's when I really started feeling a lot better about myself and started really healing within.
Okay.
Started started doing a lot of yoga, a lot of meditation, a lot of focusing on me to make sure, it doesn't happen again.
Okay.
And I think the whole self-love and self-healing is so incredibly important because
It is.
once you realize like you do not have to accept any type of being treated in any way, like negatively in any way whatsoever, that's when you really start like can put a stop to whatever's happening.
Right. Correct. And the thing is, he's a psychopath and it's so crazy. And he was in the army.
Yeah,
That's what makes it more like bizarre because that means he have the patience, the knowledge, and the thinking because they train him to think.
yeah. It's very, very conniving.
Hmm.
And what's the word? Manipulative. There's a word for pre-planning. Methodical. It's very methodical.
Hmm. So how
So
does it, so as far as I know you say human trafficking, have you had any problems with anyone coming up to you or threaten your life as far as because we're not knowing how how far he sold you into human trafficking. So have you experienced anything as related to human trafficking, any men coming up to you in any way?
I got away twice.
Oh, wow.
Once in Tennessee, my way back, I was directed to go to a place outside Lexington,
Okay.
and it was just a weird series of events. Like I got pulled over, and they were looking for drugs in my car, which I don't do drugs.
Right.
But I was out there for about 4 hours, and it did not make any sense. So I was told to go inside this out of this nightclub and said I was told that they were there to help me. They were not there to help me.
Right. That was the thing to pull you in.
Yeah. And I had a couple people on my Facebook that they did not agree with. And they said that if they did anything to me, that they would end up dead on their barroom floor. So they let me go.
Wow. How was that whole experience? That should have been a nightmare.
It was terrifying.
Wow. Because people don't always come back.
No. And those same people are actually the ones that were not in that state, but the ones in Kansas are the ones that actually my he sold my sister to the same group, but she
So
didn't get
have
away.
and you haven't heard from your sister at all.
She was gone for a year,
Mm.
and the person that I was in charge of watching her actually helped her escape.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah,
So
and
how is she doing? She doing good?
well, she does a lot of therapy,
I can only
and
imagine. So
yeah,
as
she's quite damaged.
yes. So as far as you, what's the future looking like for you now?
It's doing pretty good. Well, I contacted the governor's office and director of probation because he did get 3 years for the one assault on me. Called the victim's advocate at the attorney general's office, who put me in touch with the state one, and I did everything I could to get his hearing, get a hearing for his probation revoked, which I did do, and I spoke at that hearing. And so there's going to be another one coming up soon within the next few weeks, and I'll speak there as well. And he will be put in jail for what he did to me.
Right.
And hopefully
And
that'll give the agencies enough time to gather all the evidence that they need to for the child pornography and everything else that he's done, the money laundering.
Right. So you was able to turn over all of that documentation to them.
I talked to them about it. They want the hard copies. So they said it's like it's a lengthy investigation and they're doing everything they can. But this is just my way of making sure he goes to jail so he can't hurt any more children.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
And
what's the process for your kids? What how long did they say you'll be getting your kids back sooner, or that's a process that you're still fighting?
I'm still fighting with them. Like they well, he had told them I was a schizophrenic and I was a drug addict, so I had to go through a lot of mental health evaluations and drug testing every week, which I did. Everything's been done. But so now they're saying that I don't support my children. So I'm trying to gather all the receipts showing I've purchased everything for them.
Right.
And housing is the biggest issue because like I don't have a vehicle right now, and he's still out there, so I don't feel safe leaving.
Right.
So it's a really slow process, but they're basically still trying to terminate my parental rights. My lawyer, he's positive about everything that's going on. And as long as I do everything that they say that I need to do, then get the housing, then I'll get the children back.
Right.
The divorce part is that's where the sticky issue comes in because his name and his social security don't match.
So that's gonna be another situation.
Yeah. So
Wow.
they're not sure if I'm even married to him because there's records of him being married in North Carolina in May of 2019. So I have to find all these records to because he said he's not going to file divorce papers because he doesn't even believe I'm legally married.
Because you don't even have a right name and social.
Yeah.
So you will have to go back and try to dig up information or even just find information. And then if you don't have a right name and social, we don't know who named the names he's under.
Yeah.
So it's just a long journey in the battle. I mean, you can't stop fighting. It's gonna be a process, and thank God that you have a positive attorney that's on your side, that's willing to go the bat for you. Um, what do you have before we close out? What last words that you will leave with someone that may be in a situation and someone that's out?
For someone that's in this situation, I would have to say if you're Googling someone's behavior and if you're sitting up at night wondering why he's doing this to you, that's not love. You deserve so much better, and you really need to leave and get out of that situation because life does get better once you leave. Like despite everything that has happened to me, I'm still so much happier, a lot happier now that I'm not in that spot.
Hmm.
And and that pull that I used to have to him, like it's gone, and I just feel I actually can see like a future that could be so much more than what I saw when I was with him. And recovery is a process. It does take time, but you can do it.
And never give up.
Yeah, never give up,
Yep. So
no matter
I
what.
I want to say we all go through it, and I went through domestic violence, and we go through it, we get through it. But I just want to tell you, just keep your head up, never give up, don't stop fighting because it's a journey. And not only that, we got to get the kids back. Like they're in this situation, we definitely don't want him no how, no way, no how, no way to get them at all. So I want to say thanks again for sharing your story because it's not always easy because people are always judging us, people are always looking, but this is the way we have to do it because we can't stay silent.
Right, exactly.
we can't because it's too many that's dealing with it or in the process. And with the pandemic hitting, it's like the numbers has risen.
Yeah, definitely.
So I just want to tell you, be safe because we all know how these human trafficking people is, and that's something that you may have to deal with a long journey, to finding that safe place. Are you planning to go back to Canada anytime, or are you just gonna stay in the United States until you can fight to get the kids back?
I'm staying in the US.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I like it. I do like it here.
I wouldn't let that change me. Stop. I mean, it's a long journey, but I just want to say thank you. Don't stop. Continue smiling and know that you do matter. At the end of the day, you do matter. No matter what you went through, you do matter.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So I just want to say thanks. Thanks for tuning in to the journey back from domestic violence. And Janelle, thanks so much for sharing your story and hoping we could get this story out to someone and we could start saving a lot of most lives out there. So thanks
Yes,
again. And thanks for sharing your story.
you're very welcome.
No problem.